everybody, it's time for another day on my plate. I'm making these a weekly thing because you seem to love them so much. So for breakfast one day this week I made an overnight oat and chia pot, and as the name would suggest, I made this the night before so that it could set in the fridge. I first layered my jar with my oats, about a third of the jar, and then I poured over my coconut milk to cover it and then gave it a bit of a stir. Now I make my own coconut milk from scratch and I've shown this in a vlog before, so I will link to that down below to show you how it's done. Looks a little bit lumpy, that's just where the cream has formed on the top. And then I popped that in the fridge for around 30 minutes while I was just tidying up, and then I took it out, I sliced up one banana and layered that on the top, and then I sprinkled over 2 tablespoons of chia seeds and then covered it to the top again with coconut milk, put the lid on and left it in the fridge overnight. The chia seeds and the oats soak up all of the milk and form this pudding kind of consistency, and chia seeds especially are best eaten when they've been soaked for a little bit anyway. And then in the morning I just took it out of the fridge and topped it with some goji berries and shredded coconut. These are great to take with you to work if you do them in a jar. You can just pop the lid on them, they're not messy at all, and they make such a great filling breakfast. And then for a snack mid-morning I made a smoothie, and this was a mango, pineapple, banana and coconut water smoothie. I first cut up one banana and I popped that in my food processor. I would usually use a blender, but I've just dropped it and broken it, so this doesn't work as well, but it still does the job. I then cut up my mango. Now I slice off the sides and then you get the 2 cheeks, and then I kind of cut around the stone in the middle, and then to get the flesh out of the cheeks I just slide a cup into it and it scoops out all of the flesh. It's the best way I've found because it gets as close to the skin as possible. So I popped that in my food processor as well, and then I sliced up a whole pineapple and I cubed it all up, and then I probably used about a third of the pineapple and popped that into my food processor as well. I then took my coconut water, I used the Vita Coco coconut water, and I poured about half of this carton into the food processor, popped the lid on and then blended it all up. So tasty. It was really cold because I'd kept the coconut water in the fridge, and smoothies are just my favourite way to get all of my fruit in. I just find them really easy to drink. So for lunch I made these cucumber rolls. They're kind of like sushi cucumber rolls, but I don't make them in the way that sushi would be made. I start by peeling a cucumber with a potato peeler from one end to the other, and I made 15 strips altogether. I don't use the first couple because I just find it's really thick skin, but then the closer you get to the centre the more flimsy it becomes, so you have to use a bit of pressure. And then I turn it around the other side and do the same there. I then roll the skins up like this from one end to the other, and as I said, this made 15 rolls altogether. And then I took my brown rice out of the fridge. I usually keep a batch in there already, and I just spooned it loosely into each of the rolls. I then chopped up half a carrot into little sticks and then a half of an avocado into little squares, and I arranged those in the centre of each roll. You can then take more rice if you like, just to fill in the gaps, which is what I did. And then over the top I just sprinkled on some sesame seeds, and then I realised I had no space for my wasabi, so I just squeezed a dot onto each of the rolls. I love wasabi, it adds so much flavour. I use this one by Yutaka and I actually like quite a lot of it. And then I had another small dish which I just filled with tamari as a dipping sauce, and then I served it up to eat with some chopsticks. That's my favourite way to eat it. These are incredibly tasty. 15 looks quite a lot, but they're so good, and they're actually really filling because of the rice. And then I also made a cup of jasmine tea to go with it. I find the flavours go really well together. And then for a mid-afternoon snack I made some crudites with a bean dip. Now this was kind of meant to be a take on a ranch dip, and instead of using sour cream and mayonnaise I tried using cannellini beans. So I took a tin of rinsed and drained cannellini beans, put them in my food processor, and then added in a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, a tablespoon of lemon juice, 2 cloves of crushed garlic, half a teaspoon of mustard powder, a teaspoon of coriander powder, a tablespoon of onion flakes, some salt, some black pepper and also some paprika. I blended it all up, popped it in a bowl, and then I stirred in a teaspoon each of fresh chopped parsley, some fresh chopped dill, and some freshly chopped chives as well. I did water it down a little bit with 2 tablespoons of water. You can have it as thick as you like. And then I just chopped up some red pepper, some cucumber, and some carrots. And to be honest, it's so much better with tortilla chips or pita bread, but I'm just trying to cut down on my bread intake. And it didn't really taste like a ranch dip, but it was still really good. It tasted more like a garlicky bean dip. And then for dinner I made some 3 bean burgers, and to start with I blended up half a mug of oats into a flour, and these were in replace of some breadcrumbs. And then to that I added in all of the other dry ingredients, which were a tablespoon of onion flakes, a tablespoon of nutritional yeast, a teaspoon of paprika, a teaspoon of cumin, and a teaspoon of oregano, and then I seasoned it with salt and pepper. I blended all of the dry ingredients up together, and then I added in 2 crushed cloves of garlic, 2 tablespoons of tomato puree, half a mug or a small tin of sweet corn, and then a can of mixed beans. I used kidney beans, black beans, and cannellini beans. Then I added in a handful of fresh parsley, a tablespoon of olive oil, and then I blended it all up. And then I just scoop out some of the mix and shape them into patties. This made 6 altogether, and I arranged them on a lined baking tray. Pop them in the oven to cook on 180 degrees Celsius for around 20 to 25 minutes. I also really fancied some shoestring fries, so I chopped up my potatoes as thin as I could get them. I arranged those on another lined baking tray, spread them all out, and then I drizzled over about a teaspoon of olive oil and then seasoned them with paprika, salt, and ground black pepper. And in case you're wondering, I always use pink Himalayan salt. Gave that a bit of a mix round, and then I popped those in the oven, and because they were quite thin, they only took the same amount of time as the burgers, 20-25 minutes. We actually had iceberg lettuce leaf wraps instead of burger buns, and then because I'm not eating the bread, I can manage 2 of these. So once my burgers were done, I popped 1 each into the lettuce leaf wraps. Sandra, who sent me the coconut bites in my last What I Eat in a Day video, also sent me this incredible mango and papaya curry spread. It tastes so good, and they do so many different ones. I've found them on Amazon, and I highly recommend you give them a try, so I'll link that down below. So I just spread that onto my burgers, and then I add my toppings, and you can go with whatever you like. I sliced up some white onion into rings, also some tomato slices, and some pickles or gherkins. And then I served that up with fries, and more fries. I love these lettuce leaf wrap alternatives. I just scoop everything up really tightly, and it makes for a really great lettuce leaf bun, and bean burgers are just so good. Probably make and eat nice cream every single night, but my favourite way to make it is into a sort of sundae with some toppings on it. So I first make up my chocolate nice cream by adding 2 frozen chopped bananas to my food processor, and I blend it up with about 2 tablespoons of water until it's nice and creamy. Then I add in 2 to 3 tablespoons of raw cacao powder. I'd go with 3 tablespoons if you like it extra rich. It creates the most amazing creamy ice cream. I scooped that into my glass, and then for the first layer I sprinkled over some cacao nibs, some chopped nuts, and then also chunks of my sharing cookie. The recipe for that is in a previous What I Eat in a Day video, I'll link it above. On top of that I added another couple of scoops of my nice cream, and then popped all of the same toppings on top, and then I also had a packet of the Naked salted caramel nibbles, which I put on the top last. It looks naughty, but it is all so nice, and it is a great way to get my chocolate fix at the end of the day. Those of you that follow me on Snapchat and have watched my vlogs in the past, you'll know that yes, I do really eat like this every single day. I just love to cook and experiment with food. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you again in my next one. Bye!